Hello and welcome to Biorules video classes. Today we are going to be talking about the Filicinophytes, the second group of land plants, also known as Pteridophytes, and the most common one are the ferns. The name Pteridophytes, by the way, comes from the idea that the leaves of the, the ferns, they look like wings. So Ptero, like Pterodactylus, is the idea of wings. Okay, so differently from the bryophytes, that we start looking at the life cycle by the gametophytes, the life stage that produces the gametes. Here in the Filicinophytes, we are going to be looking at the sporophyte life stage because it's the most long-lasting stage, is the permanent one. So it's the opposite of the bryophytes, where the gametophytes is a long-lasting structure. In the ferns, in the Filicinophytes, the sporophytes, which is diploid 2N, is going to be the last long structure. So you know them, they look like this. This is what you find around. So if you take a look on the leaves, in a very close look, we're going to see that they are going to be having leaves, true leaves, they're going to be having roots, true roots, because now the roots not only attach these plants to the soil, but it also are capable of absorbing nutrients. Having a close look at the leaf, so if we make a cut and we look frontways, we are going to see that the leaves, when they are mature, they might have these little dots, these little brownish dots. And if we look at enlarged, each of these little brownish dots are going to be looking like this. Okay, so each of these leaves, which is also diploid, it's part of the sporophytes, is going to be having this sorus. The sorus is the collective name of this bunch of little capsules under a little umbrella. So this little capsule is called sporangia, which, by the way, is a fancy name for the capsule. This is the equivalent of the bryophytes of the capsule, the place where meiosis happens. So there is where you're going to be having the sporophyte diploid doing meiosis and producing haploid cells, which is going to be the spores. So the spores, which are haploids, are produced over there. So this is the life part of the life cycle that comes from the sporophytes and are going to be making the meiosis, getting ready for sexual reproduction. But in the same way as bryophytes, the spore, when it flies in the wind and it gets into the ground, it develops itself into a gametophyte. So there is the spore, and it's going to be developing a gametophyte. Oh, so it's like the bryophyte. Yes, we are just inverting, because the gametophyte, which is also haploid here, gametophytes are always going to be haploid, they are short-lived. They exist there for sexual reproduction, and then they shrink and they don't exist anymore. So the gametophytes, they are also going to be having rhizoids, just like in the bryophytes, but now the archegonia is going to be in this gametophyte there, producing little eggs, the oosphere. Okay, so we are ready for sexual reproduction. Not yet. The same plant might produce enterozoids inside the enteridia. So yes, these guys, they are hermaphrodites. The same gametophyte may produce the oosphere in the archegonia and enterozoids in the enteridia. Usually, they don't mature in the same time. We are going to see this in a further video, but they mature in different timings. So there is no self-fertilization. Rather, there will be cross-fertilization. The enterozoids of one fertilize the oospheres of another one. So let's take a look here on this cross-fertilization. We have here two gametophytes, and the one in the left is going to be cross-fertilizing the one on the right. The enterozoids are going to do the fertilization, swimming in water. We can see that the gametes are also swimmers. They have the little flagellum over there. And once you have the fertilization, then you're going to be forming a zygote. Now it's diploid, the same thing as happened in the bryophytes. And from the zygote, we are going to be having growing a new sporophyte, a new fern plant, which here is shown very small, but actually this will grow much, 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 much bigger. For you to have an idea, this guy here, the gametophytes, they are a few centimeters long. And the ferns, the adult sporophytes, is going to be many centimeters long, maybe meters long, maybe tens of meters long. Okay, so this is just the beginning, showing the sporophyte there, diploid in the cycle. So if we look on the image here, we have this beautiful drawing. It's starting here with the sporophytes. We have inside the sporangia, the little capsule, meiosis happening. So meiosis happened there, produce a spore. The spore hits the ground, produce a gametophyte, a little gametophyte that grows over there. The gametophyte may produce the sperm cells, the enterozoids, which swims to the egg. We have the egg being produced, and when one meets the other, makes the zygote. So now we have it diploid back again. And then the new sporophytes are going to be growing here. They start growing very small, but then they're going to grow very big. If I would draw here to scale, the gametophyte would be a tiny little dot over here that doesn't exist anymore. Okay? Another image here showing the same thing, but now we have the sporophytes here, diploids, with the sporangium. They are producing spores by meiosis, and here it is the spore being released. It hits the ground, germinates, makes a gametophyte. The enterozoid is going to be fertilizing the egg, making the zygote, and then it grows back again into a new sporophyte. This is the life cycle of the pteridophytes or Filicinophytes. Comparing it to the bryophytes life cycle, I will place here the bryophyte life cycle again. We remember that we have the gametophytes, which are those tiny little plants that are the permanent stage of the life. They are haploids. And we are going to have the enterozoid producing on the one on the left, make it a male, oosphere producing the one on the right, which makes it a female. Then you have fecundation, and after fecundation, the oosphere becomes a zygote, diploid, and the zygote is going to be growing on the top of the mother's gametophytes, and it's going to be making a sporophyte. But the sporophyte is that little stalk, short-lived diploid that will do meiosis. And then by meiosis, it's going to be producing spores. The spores will fly and will make the long-lasting gametophyte. So the long-lasting part here is this, but this is the cycle. If we take a look on the pteridophyte life cycle, it's going to be practically identical. But I'll start with the sporophyte because it's the long-lasting one, diploid. There it is, the little plant growing there. And this sporophyte is going to suffer meiosis inside the sporangia, inside the capsule. And then we have here the spore, which is haploid now after meiosis, and the spore flying, hitting the ground, will produce gametophytes. So it can produce many gametophytes. They are going to be the haploid ones with the shape of a heart. And these guys are going to be producing enterozoids over there. They may also produce oospheres over there. And then the enterozoid fertilize the oosphere, usually not self-fertilization, usually a cross-fertilization. And then the enterozoid fertilizing the oosphere will make a zygote, diploid, and this zygote is going to be growing into a new sporophyte. So this is the life cycle of the pteridophytes. And now take your time to do the little quiz to see how well you have learned this topic. See you in the next class. Bye bye.